Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today I'm going to look at the Eva Noire and Eva Paradis decks from Thirdway Industries. Now, if you want a chance to win the Eva Noire deck, that's this one over here on the right, stay tuned for the end of the video. I'll let you know how you can win one of those. So you'll definitely want to hang out for the end of the video for that. But let's get into these two right here. Now, these decks were not released on Kickstarter, which is where Giovanni does most of his new decks. These were available a few different ways. Easiest way to get them was to be a subscriber on his Patreon. If you do that monthly subscription, he sent these decks out as some of the monthly rewards there. You could also get them direct on his site. And there are still a few available as of now. So if you like what you see here, absolutely hurry up and go check those out before they're all gone. Now, this design right here is not completely original. It's actually a follow-up to the immensely popular 2017 Eva design. This one was released on Kickstarter and is one of, as Giovanni has put it, one of his favorite designs. So here's the original one over here, but he wanted to do a follow-up and kind of reimagine these decks. So these are done in completely new colors, but also completely redrawn quartz. So if you've seen the original Eva, you're gonna see some differences in these decks right here. And it does come in the two different versions you see here. Noir is sort of the unlimited or the standard, if you will, version. And then the highly limited one over here as the Paradis, done in this beautiful gold. This one's limited to only 350 decks, so one of the lowest print runs that he's done. The cards inside of the two of them are the same, so I'm really just going to open up one, the Noir over here, of course, but the same cards in the two, but we are going to look at both tuck cases. So let's start with the Noir. Now, the front of the tuck, it's just this regular glossy finish tuck, nothing too fancy on the materials, but it's a black background with tons of bright gold, almost yellow gold ink, as well as metallic greens and this fluorescent pink as small pops in there. Features Eva, the namesake of the deck, on the front, a very kind of haunting image with no pupils there. Eva was, or Eve as you may know her, was from the Garden of Eden with Adam. She ate the forbidden fruit, usually depicted as an apple. And so that's a little bit of her story. We'll see more of her story, of course, as we go through the deck. But she was tempted by a snake. And so you'll see Eve here, or Eva, in the center. We get the apple there on her chest, and then the two snakes kind of coiling up on the sides of her, the two who tempted her to eat the fruit. Really beautifully done in gold, have a large heart down there at the bottom, and then the background is black with this kind of glyphs all over, hieroglyphs, and these are little pictorials that tell part of the story of some of the different courts, and we'll see more about those stories in a second. Love the little green leaves that are flowing all the way around. Just a really beautiful image, finished out with kind of a gold picture frame border going around the edge. On the sides, you've got Eva on one side, Eva on the other, and then ad copy for Thirdway Industries on the bottom, as well as USPCC, who printed the deck. And then the top just has the four suits represented. Back's going to be a depiction of the back of the cards, which we'll look at more in detail in a second. And it did actually originally come with a tuck seal. It was actually an error. It wasn't intended to come with a tuck seal, but USPCC at the factory applied a standard black USPCC, same one you'll find on like bicycle decks, seal. Really didn't fit in with the deck, and since it wasn't part of the artist's intention, I went ahead and peeled it off. I usually don't peel off my tuck seals, but I did with this one. As you open up the flap, you have a little bit more gold design work, along with that apple represented there in the center, and then little circular designs on the two flaps. Nothing printed on the interior of the tuck. So that is the Eva Noire, the standard deck. Turning real quick to the Paradis deck. This one is really something else. It's the same basic design, but it's done in this really cool paper. It's a gold metallic paper. I don't know if I can catch this here. There you go, you can kind of see it. You can see just the texture of that, almost like cloth. Just a really beautiful and shining paper used. And then it's covered, the design is all done in highly embossed pink foil. Really beautiful contrasting color, that pink against the gold. It's really cool looking. And it does feature a custom tuck seal. It does have this red, bright red seal with those hieroglyphs on the top, and it's numbered, like I said before, out of 350. So I've got number 110. That's it. That is the beautiful Eva Paradis tuck case. Love that one. One of the best that he's done, in my opinion. All right, now let's get into the cards, and we'll start with the back design. This is something else, and here it is, done in almost all of it is in this yellow gold, a really beautiful color, almost yellow, but it's a gold metallic ink for almost the entire back. Just absolutely beautiful. You've got the image of Eve or Eva there in the center with the apple on one side and the snake curled up on the other. Again, that really haunting image of her in the middle. The black background is covered with those hieroglyphs, and then you've got the gold or the green metallic ink leaves flowing around. So in addition to the gold that's forming up most of it, you've got hits of green metallic both in the snake and the leaves. Completely two-way back design, and really beautiful hearts sort of flanking to make the center design there kind of twisted together. Finishes out in a medium thin gold poker border around the edge. Love the design, love the look of Eva there in the center, just all the little details. Beautiful back design. Now jumping to the cards. I'm going to save the courts and the jokers for the end, just because that's really where the story of the deck is told. But let's really quickly go through the number cards. And here they are. They're a fairly standard pip in the center, pip and index in the corner, a little bit of a custom font, custom feel to them, but nothing too special. And then you have this line down here with sort of little glyphs or pictorials. This is meant to tell the story of each of the suits. So each one of the suits tells the story of one of the, quote, first women. And we'll see what I mean in a second as we get to the courts, but it's going through different cultures and telling that story. These glyphs here are kind of a pictorial representation of that story. I'll talk about the specific stories at the courts. Just wanted to let you know what those are. This is actually something you see on a couple of decks. Jody Eklund actually does this quite a bit with his decks and does this little line down the side telling the story. All of the ink here is on a black background, is that gold metallic ink. Really beautiful. Interestingly, all of these are one-way number cards, meaning all four of the suits are kind of going in one direction, or all five, all six pips going in one direction rather than having some of them that are reversed to make it a little bit more two-way. So these are all completely one-way. Getting to the diamonds, now it's in a hot pink. Love the contrast of that against the black. Goes really well with the gold, honestly. But there are the diamonds. You can see now the glyph in the corner has changed a little bit. Here are the clubs. A little bit more custom feel of the club pips compared to the other two. But nothing too crazy there. And then into the hearts. So that's the number cards. Nothing too special there, but still really beautifully done. Now we get to the courts, and this is always the highlight of a Giovanni Meroni deck, are his legendary court cards. So we're going to spend some time on these. Now, I mentioned before that each one of the courts is meant to tell the story of one of the first women. So the Jack, Queen, and King all represent the same character in the story. It's more of a chronology of their story rather than three different characters from the story. Really interesting decision to do that. Now, starting with the Spades, we're going to be telling the story of Pandora. Pandora was the first woman, the first human woman created by Hephaestus at the command of Zeus. So Zeus commanded her creation. So in Greek stories, she was the first woman. And as her story goes, she you may have heard of Pandora's box, but she was given a box, told never to open it. And she ultimately did kind of let her curiosity get the better of her. She opened it up, and that sort of unleashed all of the sins and evils on the world. So that was kind of her place in the creation story. So here on the Jack of Spades, now we're going to, like I said, chronologically tell the story. So the Jack of Spades, we have Pandora as the gift of Zeus. This is her innocent. The box is still completely sealed. You've got the lightning bolt over her shoulder representing Zeus, who commanded her creation. And just a really beautiful combination of colors. Her hair is this metallic green, same color we saw in the snake before. And then you've got little tiny hits of pink. So really gold, green, and pink being the three primary colors. Love the swirl, whether it's of her hair or the ribbons going around the edge. Just a really beautiful motion to the entire deck. I've got the column, the Greek style column sitting out there over the edge. But there's Pandora as the gift of Zeus. As you turn to the Queen of Spades, still Pandora, but now Pandora as the curious betrayer. So now she's kind of changed. She's got a little bit of a mischievous look in her eyes, and she's sort of looking over at that box. You've got the snake here. The snake is going to be a recurring element. The snake is named Prometheus, and in this case, he's the one who whispered temptation to Pandora to get her to open the box. So you can see he's kind of got her attention. She's eyeing that box over there and thinking about opening it. In sort of a parallel, you may notice the parallel to Eve's story in the Garden of Eden and eating of the forbidden fruit. And so in a nod to the parallels to that story, you've the apple over here represented on the shield from Eve's story. But there's the Queen of Spades. And then turning to the King of Spades is Pandora as the traitor of humanity. She's now opened the box. The background behind her is a lot darker, a little bit more sinister of a feel to it. And of course, the box itself is cracked open. All of the evil has been released out into the world. She still has the snake by her side. And you can see inside the box one set of eyes peering out. That is hope. Hope is the one thing that remained in the box after she opened it and released everything else out of it. So that's the story of Pandora through the courts. The Ace of Spades also features Pandora, has that beautiful spade pip exploding out of Pandora's box down there at the bottom, and then the two snakes flanking out on either side. It has Thirdway Industries at the top and MMXIX for 2019 when the deck was created. So there's the Ace of Spades, the first of the four power aces, this time representing Pandora. So that's the story of the aces. Now let's go to the spades rather. Now let's go to the diamonds. The diamonds are going to tell the story, a little bit less known of a story, of Lilith. Lilith was, in some cultures, particularly in Jewish cultures, the actual first woman and the first wife of Adam. That's right, Adam and Eve. So he actually had a wife prior to Eve, according to some stories, and that was Lilith. Lilith was created at the same time as Adam, but she actually got tired of being subjugated by Adam, eventually rebelled against Adam, left the Garden of Eden, and eventually met and married Samael. Samael was a fallen angel or a demon, and so Lilith herself became a demoness. Today, she's kind of seen as both a little bit of an evil character in the story, but also she's sort of become a symbol of female empowerment because of how she rebelled against Adam. And in fact, there's actually a Jewish magazine, an independent magazine for women called Lilith, that kind of draws their name from the inspiration of Lilith's strength in her story. So interesting character. But here, now we're going to go through the story. So here is Lilith as true first woman. So as she's first been created, still very proud, very strong, but this is when she's still with Adam. Had that beautiful staff going down the sides, and I love the pink hair. Really just beautiful against that gold ink. Turning to the Queen of Diamonds now, we have her as the prisoner queen. So still with Adam, but you can see her kind of metaphorically bound up here, and kind of they got the ribbons or chains that are binding her, and maybe a little bit of frustration building on her face. But this is her in the Garden of Eden and kind of really getting close to rebelling against Adam, which she finally does as you turn to the King of Diamonds. And this is Lilith as the first rebel. So now she's gone to be with Samael, and now has left the Garden of Eden entirely and left Adam. So now she's kind of turned into a little bit of a demoness, much more menacing look to her face, almost like she's got fangs there. Just a much more evil almost look to her. You got that blood red sword over her shoulder as well, but a really striking image there. So there she is. You got the demon wing kind of coming out of the side as well. And here she is as well on the Ace of Diamonds. I mentioned all four are going to be power aces. So here's Lilith represented on the Ace of Diamonds, all in really vibrant pink. So there's the story of the diamonds. Next we go to the clubs. So now we're going to go back to Greek mythology for the story of Pyrrha. Pyrrha was actually the daughter of Pandora, so strictly speaking, not the first woman, but she was one who was responsible for the beginnings of humanity as well. Much like in Christian stories, there is a story of a flood that destroyed the earth, and Pyrrha was at the center of that story. Zeus sent a flood to destroy the earth. Pyrrha was warned of it by the snake as well. And so once she was warned by the snake Prometheus, she ended up, along with her husband Deucalion, boarding a boat, avoiding the flood, or avoiding the destruction of the flood, and then ultimately, along with her husband, repopulating the earth. So that's the story of Pyrrha as told here. So now we're going to start with the Jack of Clubs, which is Pyrrha, the Annunciation. The Annunciation was when the snake warned her of the coming flood. And so you can see that snake coiled up next to her ear, and her kind of looking over to the side. You can see her eyes turn towards the snake as she listens to hear a little bit about that flood that's coming. Again, really beautiful golds and greens, lots of flowing imagery. And then you've got the lightning bolts here, maybe representing Zeus, who ultimately sent the flood. Now, turning to the Queen of Clubs, now we have Pyrrha on the boat as the Queen of Deluge. So looking out the window here, you've got the rain droplets coming down, beautiful flowing green hair as she kind of pensively looks out the window as the entire earth is being flooded. I've got the columns and all kinds of just flowing images going all the way around. And then finally, in the King of Clubs, here she is as the mother of the world. So once the floods were over, she and her husband were responsible for repopulating the world. And according to the legend, the way they did that was they were told to throw the bones of Gaia, the bones of Mother Earth, over her shoulder. And those were actually the rocks. Once she threw those rocks over her shoulder, those rocks sprouted up and became the new first men. So here she is, proud as the mother of the entire world. Now turning to the Ace of Clubs. Here again is a representation of her on the third power ace, large club pip. And you have these three stones here representing the bones of Gaia that she used to create the first men. So there are the clubs. So now let's get into, last but not least, the hearts. And the hearts are going to represent our namesake for the deck, Eva. Eve, as she's often known, was the first woman in the Christian stories. And so in the book of Genesis, she and Adam lived in the Garden of Eden. Ultimately, they were tempted by a serpent who told them to eat from the forbidden tree of knowledge, which God had told her not to eat from. Once she ate from that tree of knowledge, they did gain wisdom, they gained knowledge, but they were also kicked out of the Garden of Eden and ultimately became the mother and father of all of humanity. So now we're going to go through her story. Over here, we start with the Jack of Hearts, which is Eva as the first lover, looking a little bit more pure and innocent. She is bare-chested as she would have been in the Garden of Eden. A little bit of the adult themes that you see on some of Giovanni's decks really coming out here. And again, just beautiful flowing. I love this kind of ribbon curled around her, the little heart on her chest. Just a really beautiful, serene image with that pink hair flowing over her shoulder. Now you turn to the Queen of Hearts, and here we have her as Eva the Temptress. So now we have the snake Prometheus making an appearance again, now whispering temptation into her ear. This is where she's being tempted to eat from the tree of knowledge and to share that fruit with her husband, despite it being forbidden by God. And so this is her as the temptress. You get the apple represented on her shield here, and a little bit more of a defiant look to her eyes as she considers ultimately her betrayal of God. And then you get into the King of Hearts, which is Eva as the queen of the world. So once she gains that wisdom, gains that knowledge, and is kicked out of the Garden of Eden, she and Adam then are on their own to populate the entire world. And here's Eva then as the queen of the world. Again, the serpent by her side. She has the sword and kind of that suicidal, maybe a metaphorical, death to her time in the Garden of Eden. And just beautiful images all the way through. Again, that vibrant pink hair really striking. And then on the Ace of Hearts, of course, we have Eva represented again. It says Eva down at the bottom and done in all beautiful pink with that heart pip at the bottom. Very similar to the image that we saw on the front of the tuck. The deck also does come with 4 jokers, and the 4 jokers actually tell, each one of them is represented for each one of the suits. And so here we have one represented for the spade. This is, if you remember, the story of Pandora. So you've got Pandora in the front, as well as Zeus, who commanded her creation, behind her. And then you've got Pandora's box down there in front of her as well. A really beautiful image with the 2 of them. The second joker here is Lilith, along with her husband Samael, the demon who tempted her from the Garden of Eden. So there's Lilith and Samael ruling together. And then we turn back to the story of Pyrrha, who was on the clubs. So you've got Pyrrha here in the background, along with her husband, Deucalion, who the 2 of them, after surviving the flood, if you remember, populated the whole earth. And then last but not least, of course, is Eva, and she is paired with Adam. So you have Adam and Eve together on this last of the 4 jokers. Really beautiful. Love the look at that one. And I mentioned those kind of hieroglyphs, and all 4 of the corners of the 4 jokers feature the 4 hieroglyphs telling the 4 different stories. So that's the 4 jokers that you get. So that is the deck. As far as handling, look, it's not really a deck that's much for cardistry or anything like that, but they do handle really, really nicely. It's USPCC, so fanning, all that are going to work really, really well. But what is the deck for? It's not going to be one that you're going to use for gameplay or magic. It really is just, like a lot of Thirdway decks, it's an art deck meant to be enjoyed. I mean, how striking is that going to look on anybody's shelf? I think, you know, that's really where these decks are going to find their home. So they handle well enough for gameplay or for cardistry. You know, they're readable enough if you want to use them for gameplay or for magic, but these are decks you're just going to look at, enjoy the story, look for all those little details in the cards. At least that's how I like to enjoy my Thirdway decks. So that is it. That is the look at the Eva Noire and Eva Paradis decks. Absolutely love these 2. Some of the best that Giovanni's done to date, and that's really saying something. He's got some really fantastic decks out there. So I did say at the beginning that I was going to tell you guys how you could win an Eva Noire deck of your own, and wasn't lying. I'm going to do that right now. So if you want to win an Eva Noire deck, all you have to do, 3 things: like this video, subscribe to the channel, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and third, go leave a comment down below. So I want you to just comment, tell me what your favorite Thirdway deck is. Don't choose the Evas, choose something else. What's your favorite Thirdway deck? Really love to hear what else, what you guys think. I'll be doing a video soon talking about my top 5 Thirdway decks, because he's absolutely one of my favorite designers. So that's all you have to do. Do those 3 things and you'll be entered to win one of the Eva decks. And if you want to win an extra entry, go to my Instagram. It's the Card Guy YT. So go follow me on Instagram, leave me a note there, and along with your YouTube name, and I'll make sure that you get entered for a second time in the drawing. All right, so I'll be announcing the winner 1 week from today. So make sure you get your entries in if you want a chance to win this fantastic deck. All right, that's it for now. That's a look at the Eva, Paradis, and Noire. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what else you want to see. Subscribe both to enter the giveaway and for more deck reviews and unboxings in the future. And I'll see you for the next one.